Hello, creatives. Welcome to a kid called Beastmaker session. In this session, we have Void, and today we're diving into the best add-ons of 2025. Here's an example of what we are making today. Let's get started.
What up, everyone? Welcome to another Blender session or a Maker session. I'm Void. I'm going to go through some of the most helpful add-ons that I've come across on Blender Market the last year, and let's just dive into it because we've got a lot of add-ons that are a lot of cool stuff going on in between, so let's just dive into it. Okay, so if you know Blender, then this scene might look something like you've already seen. This is just the start scene, but we are going to work with our add-ons. So how do we switch on our add-on panel? We are just going to press N, and there we are. We see all our add-ons listed here. If you haven't installed any, you will only be able to see item, tool, and view. As you can see, I've got quite a lot of add-ons which I'm using lately because they are so much fun. They make your life so much easier, and that's why I want to dive in a little bit more into which add-ons are really worth it. So this is part 2 of my favorite add-ons. If you haven't seen part 1, you might see some add-ons like Alt-Tab Easy Fog or Geoscatter that I have already mentioned in the previous one. So go check out part 1 if you don't know these, because they are really good. However, we found some cooler ones, some things that can be really helpful in some stressful situations. So we're just going to go ahead and look through some of them. Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna start with a super cool add-on. It's called the one-click damage version 2.0. So I'm just going to open it up on Blender Market. If you are looking for these add-ons, you can see here blendermarket.com. It's a website where I get almost all of them. It's an amazing store where you can not only buy add-ons, but you can also buy models, like you can see, modifiers, you can buy textures. It's a one-stop shop for everything Blender related. So I really recommend checking out the website, but today we're going to focus on add-ons. So we are going to start with one-click damage, and I'm just going to open it up in here. There we go, so you guys can see what it's all about, and I'm going to paste the link in the Discord chat. There we go, and I'm just spacing it. I hope it will work as I am intending it will. No, I'm just gonna send you the link, if you are okay with it, so you can paste it in the chat.
So go ahead.
There we go. There is the link for the one-click damage plugin. So one-click damage, as you can hear, the title says almost all of it. You are going to damage your objects that are into your scene. So if you want a clean look, don't use one-click damage. However, when we are striving for reality in our renders, everything in the world has some kind of wear and tear, some kind of damage that's put onto it. So this will help us enormously with creating realistic renders, and it only takes one click, which is a pretty amazing thing. So we still got our cube here from the normal startup scene, and we're just going to try and damage this cube. First of all, I'm going to my render settings, and I'm going to switch Eevee to cycles, change my device to GPU compute because I've got a pretty decent GPU, and I changed my max samples to 300. I don't know why I did it. I'm not gonna render it, but it's just a habit that I'm having. When I start a project, I just change my max samples to something lower. Then to check out what we're going to do, I want to see our viewport. So we got some top of here, they all do a different thing. So this one lets you check out everything in wireframe. This one lets you check out everything in solid mode. This one lets you check out the textures of your materials. Right now there is no texture on our cube, so we're not going to see much of a difference. But this one lets you check out the rendered view of your viewport. So I'm going to again render view. Now we still have a lightning that's being emitted from our world view, so I'm gonna shut it down, which is now 0, and then the only lightning we got in our scene is the lightning that was put in here by default. As you can see, if I turn it around, our lightning changes. Okay, so first of all, we want to damage this cube. As you guys can see, this cube is looking like a regular, pretty smooth cube. Again, we are going to damage our object is made out of vertices, and as you guys can see, there's not much information to damage right now. So first I'm gonna add a little more information inside of our cube. I'm going to demonstrate this afterwards with a normal asset from Blender Kit, which will have a lot of more information into it, so we can see the difference. But we will have to add some information. So I went to edit mode, I selected the cube, and then I'm going to subdivide it a little, so we have more information to work with. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to just regular object mode, and there it is. We have our cube that is looking like our cube. In the beginning, there's just more information inside of it. So now I want to make sure there's some damage to our cube. So very easy, I installed the add-on one-click damage version 2.0, and I select my cube and I say make damage. As you can see, instantly I have a pretty cool block, a ruin, which actually looks like a cool ruin that has been damaged, and it's super easy. It's just one click, and now we can do all kinds of things with it thanks to this plugin. So we can adjust the scale of our damage. So as you guys can see, the wear is going to be a lot bigger, so you have bigger chips of your block. If I'm going to scale it down, the chips become smaller. You can adjust like this how big you want your damage to be. The amount we can also change, like right now we have some damage here, and there's no damage here, there's no damage here. So if we play around with the amount, you're gonna see our block is way more damaged than it was before, and it's all up to you how you want to make your damaged block look. So right now we have a noise type, which means our block is being damaged by this pattern, and now our pattern are clouds. So this is what a clouds damage noise pattern looks like. We can change the pattern. So if we have Musgrave, we see a lot less damage. We can go for a marble damaging, which is more a realistic for a block type thing. We've got a Voronoi damage, which is something totally different, and a wood damage. As you can see, it all looks very different, but they all do the trick in whatever material you are trying to damage. So for now we're going to stick with clouds, and I'm just going to make sure we have a nice stone texture on our block, so we can get the full realism of what we are trying to make. So there is a nice stone texture in here, but as you guys can see, it's not working pretty well. So we take another one, and this one is working great. However, as you guys can see, our damaged parts still have the original color of our block. So this one looks nice, this one looks realistic, but the damaged parts don't look realistic yet. So how are we going to fix it? First, if you are happy with how your block has been damaged, you can just press apply. So now everything, the damage has been set into the block, and we can work with this. So what happened right now is you have your block, but you also have your damaged parts that are separately in a texture, as you can see here. So you have the stone material and you have the material that was originally from the cube. So if we want to make sure the color from the stone is the same one as the color from our original cube, we just gotta select the material that's not our stone, so material in here, and we just gotta change it to the stone. And as you guys can see, it's way more the color that it needs to be. However, we are not there yet. So what I recommend is we just choose a different one. For example, we just click on the stone again, and right now, as you guys can see, it's really the same texture, and it's just a damaged block, while before it was a, let me go back, it was a damaged block with a weird pattern on the sides. No, we just give it the exact same texture as our block, and now we have a damaged block. So this is a starting point from the default cube that you're just getting in Blender, and with just, I think, 3 clicks we did the damage, we did the texture, and we did the subdivision. So with 3 clicks you can get a regular block to look like a realistic damaged block that you can use to build houses or whatever you want to use for inside of Blender, which is a pretty cool thing, I think. You can also just use, for example, let's say a bridge, something that's a little rocky, for example this one. Let's just put it into our scene. So this is a bridge, but I'm thinking, hey, maybe this bridge could be more damaged. I don't really like, I know, like there's some texture, but I wanted to make it more damaged. We can just click on it and we go make damage. As you guys can see, there are some problems going on here right now. So why is this? Because the information inside of our object is overscaling our add-on. So we can try to check out another noise type, we can try to scale it down, we can try to use Furnoy, but sometimes the yeah. What are you saying?
Não é. Então, ficou bem menos, universidade.
Your connection is very bad. Can you go again?
Sorry, what?
Yeah, I didn't understand what you say. The connection was pretty bad.
No, sorry. It rugged. Sorry. Go on.
Okay, yeah. So as you guys can see, sometimes the information is just not enough, or it's too much for the add-on to work properly. So you just have to going to figure out some ways how to get around this. For example, as you guys can see, there is a lot of information going on inside of this object. So try to stick to objects that really work with the one-click damage from the first time, because if you're going to troubleshoot what the problem is with your specific model, you're going to be a while and you're going to lose a lot of time. While if you can just select, for example, another bridge, for example this one, it's pretty similar to this one, and this one works because it has less, or it has more information, let's say, and this one works. You just go take the new model and you destroy this model, and your scene will look exactly the same, but you won't have the headaches of really having to go through everything and troubleshooting why isn't this working like I want it to work. Okay, so I think this was the one-click damage. If there are questions about the one-click damage, please just put them in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. And if there are no questions, let's go on to the next one. I'm just going to add a little light again because I deleted the previous one. There we go, we have our cube again and we have some light. Okay, the next one is a pretty cool one as well. If you've been following my Instagram, you might have seen this one, but I really want to get into this one as well, and I'm just going to add a hot dog to our scene. If I mention a hot dog, you might already know what I'm talking about, but there we go. I just added a hot dog. There we go. It's a pretty neat looking hot dog, but as you can see, there is something missing from our bun, and it's a little bit of sauce. I mean, there's no ketchup, there's no mustard. Who eats a hot dog? Just a sandwich and a sausage. If you do, you're crazy. So we gotta add some, and there's a really easy way you can add fluids to any type of render, and it's with the fluid painter. As you guys can see here, the fluid painter. So fluid painter, we can just go on here, Blender Market, and we search for the fluid painter, and voila, you see the strawberry. I'm going to paste it to Ka, and she's going to paste it in the chat. Thank you very much, Ka. As you guys can see, as you guys can see, the fluid painter, you have all kinds of fluids. You have honey, you have ketchup, you have oil, you have slime, you have soap. You can do all sorts of things with this, and the cool thing about this, you can just draw it. You don't have to think about, hey, how do I need to sculpt everything? No, you can just draw it. So how does a fluid painter work? Very easy. We're just going to go to our fluid settings, and I'm just going to go to food. Then in food we got a ton of options, but for now we need to use ketchup, and we're going to use mustard, but first we're going to use ketchup. So fluid, I just did ketchup. I selected my sausage, and I set parent fluid to selected object. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna click add fluid, and I'll have a little pen icon which will make me able to draw on my scene. So if I'm gonna draw and it's not attached to my sausage, I'm gonna draw and it's going to be floating in the air here. It's gonna be down here because there's no information on the height, so on the z-axis where it should come. So if I select parent fluid to selected object, which is a sausage, it's gonna say, oh, the ketchup needs to be on the sausage, and that's where we're gonna put it. So select the sausage, and now I'm going to add fluid. And as you guys can see, I now have a little pen that I can use to write on my hot dog, and I'm just going to write some ketchup on here in a fluent manner. So as you guys can see, not much happens. So there's just some strange lines. It's looking weird. It's not what ketchup on a hot dog is supposed to look like. But there's one thing, and that's our fluid scale, which is very it's very small right now. So as you guys can see, there are some lines of ketchup, but it's not the thickness that you would expect from ketchup. So that's why it's looking so weird. So we're going to have to scale up our fluid scale, and as you guys can see, our ketchup is looking better right now already. Maybe it's a little bit too thick right now. We can use a little bit thickness, we can use a little bit scale, and so you just have to make sure you try to catch the thickness that you want of it. And as you guys can see very clearly, it really has a nice drip to it. It really touches the borders, it goes inside of the sandwich, and everything is looking pretty good. Except for, as you guys can see, there is some clipping going on here. So if you've got clipping, there are two options. Or you just delete the whole thing. I press Ctrl Z, I do undo, because now we've got our scale and our thickness that's being set right. So now we can just draw again, and everything should look fine. As you guys can see, here's a big blob. I don't like it. I'm just gonna draw again, and you guys can just draw till everything looks great. The problem is I pressed undo one too much time, so our scale is again to the lower side, so we really gotta thicken it up again. But however, if you want to change something without having to undo everything, you can just easily select the move, and all of these points with these lines in here, you can just select them and you can move them, which will move your ketchup as well. So for example, I think this one should be a little bit higher. We're just going to put a little higher. I think it should be a little bit bigger. We can just make sure it's bigger by scaling it. We can rotate it. So everything is pretty customizable. We have some nice dripping of our hot dog right here. So everything is very customizable, and you can just use everything like you want to use it. For example, let's use the mustard right now. We still have our scale and our thickness. So again, I first, back to object mode, need to select our sausage, and I'm going to add this fluid scale. I'm going to put it up with thickness, and now I'm going to draw the mustard, which will be like something in here in between. And as you guys can see, you have a very smooth line of mustard just in one click. As you guys can see, there are artifacts here. So for me, the easiest is, instead of manually adjusting everything, I'm just going to draw it again and make sure these artifacts are gone. Again, an artifact. So I'm just going to draw again until everything is smooth on my bun, and we have a nice looking mustard and ketchup hot dog. So that's a very useful add-on. You can use it for all kinds of food. You can use it for soap. You can use it for foam. Just try it out and work with it. You're really gonna have a real fun time with using this add-on. It's really something that improves your workflow, but also improves your render, especially if you're doing product renders and you're working with food. This one is going to be something you're going to be using a lot of. Okay, so that's the fluid add-on. Let's delete our hot dog. Let's delete our cube. I also deleted my light. I didn't want to, so I'm going to delete everything again. Okay, let me just delete everything. That will be easier. So right now I'm going to show you another very cool add-on. I'm just going to add a light again, and I added a sphere so we can see everything nicely. So we have our sphere. I just shade smoothed our sphere so we have a nice smooth sphere. It's a very hard word to say if you're not native. A sphere. I'm trying my best, guys. Don't be mad if I'm saying it wrong. And let's go to, let's see, the Blender generator. Okay, this is a really cool one. So first of all, I selected my object, I selected the add-on. Now I'm going to click the refresh list button because it's going to take a while for everything to be refreshed. We are just going to search for our Blender generators. Blender generator spec in the meantime, and I should find it. I might be this one. Let's see. It's a very cool add-on, and I really want to show it to you guys. I don't think it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. Let's see. Ultimate Generators Bundle. There we go. This is a pretty cool one. Sending it again to you, Ka, in the hope you can put it in the chat. So, what does the Blender generator do? As you guys can see, we have the monkey face, and there are happening some cool things with our monkey face. So we can generate, okay, so it refreshed, we can generate everything onto our orb. For example, one of the best use cases for this one is a lightning generator. So as you guys saw maybe on the photo I posted on X for the session today, there was an orb that was emitting electricity, and this is by far the easiest way to make sure my orb has electricity surrounding it. So, generator, I opened it, I made sure I refreshed everything, I just go straight to lightning, I select my orb, and I say append generator to selected. As you guys can see, there is instantly energy honestly, the lightning looks super cool. That's not the only thing. We can change how it looks by one, adjusting the scale. So as you guys can see, I'm adjusting the scale and there's a lot of things happening. There's more lightning coming gradually onto our sphere. We can change the roughness. So right now it's really spiky. It's too spiky when we go to 1. If we go to 0, we just got squiggly lines, so it's not electricity anymore. But if you're going for these squiggly lines, electricity, this might be your best shot. But today we're going for electricity, so I'm going to put the roughness a little rougher again, so it really looks like some static energy. The probability is how many strings are going to be on our orb. So I'm just going to go from 1 and I'm going to add more gradually to see how many I want. And I think this looks pretty good, and I think this looks like a pretty electrified orb, if you ask me. So this is a pretty cool plugin. It's really helpful in generating everything you might need that's a little bit harder to recreate by scratch, and it's just costs you 1 click to really have the effect that you're looking for. So I'm going to try some other things you can do with it. So I'm going to remove the lightning, and as you guys can see, there are a lot of things you can do with it. For example, we can cover it in snow. As you guys can see, there is just a top of snow on side of the object. The sphere disappeared, but we are left with the snow, which could be a really cool effect if you're looking to add a snow scene, or for example, there is a bike and you need some snow on it because the bike has been standing outside for the whole night, which is a pretty cool thing. You can just do it with 1 click here. We can add a shield around it, which is a sci-fi more thing, but whatever the object is, you can put like the whole shield around it in 1 click, which is a pretty nice thing. As you guys can see, we can append it with pipes. I think this is going to take a while. As you guys can see, it will be some pipes around. Yeah, there we are. So we have a small little world that we built right now that's full of pipes. If we just change our texture to something worldly, you just make yourself a full world that's inhabited by an oil company or something. So a lot of cool stuff you can do with it. We have fur, we have ice, we have ice spikes. You can change it into a hologram, you can change it into Lego, into rock. So really cool stuff you can do with the Blender generator spec. It costs some money, but if you're going to use Blender a lot, especially if you're going to use Blender in a creative environment, so I'm less talking about product renders, I'm talking more about really creating art with your bees. For example, if you want to join the contest and you want to create cool things, I think this add-on is something that will really help you out, and it will really it will really upgrade your renders, because you can just add difficult things in only 1 click, and that's something I think everyone is looking for at the moment. Not only at the moment, that's something everyone is looking for all the time. So this is something I really recommend. Okay, so Trace Genius Pro, one of my favorite ones to use right now. I think I even saw it here. Yeah, here we are, Trace Genius Pro. Again, sending it to you, Kyle. I just showed you guys this on my Instagram. I showed you guys how to use it, but if you haven't checked it out, I'm gonna tell you guys how to use it right now, right here today. And if you guys got some questions, just go ahead and shoot. Okay, so first of all, Trace Genius Pro, what is it? It's going to make a 3D model out of a logo that you put into it. If it's not a logo, if it's just a shape, it's not gonna work with photos. It really has to be something that has a strong contrasting color, like black and white, like a logo is just black and white, and it's gonna work perfectly. So I'm gonna show you guys the example of MTV, so the MTV logo. I'm going to go to downloads and I'm going to check out the MTV vector logo, which looks something like this. So if I want to make a render with this logo, I'm gonna have a hard time recreating it. Like the M is gonna be fine, but then you got this weird thing coming out of the M. You've got the holes inside of the inside of the M, from the T, from the V. It's gonna take a while before I can really make sure what I make is an exact copy of what I'm looking at right now. So Trace Genius Pro fixes this in a genius way. And the only thing I have to do is I have to select it and I say trace shape. It's the only thing I have to do. So it's gonna work in a lot of cases. If something is not working, maybe you can go back to Photoshop and change like the color of this to be more black so it really picks it up, or we can play with the threshold and the accuracy. So the accuracy, I want it to be really accurate, so I put it to 9, and the color threshold I'm going to put it to 0.9, because we're only working with 2 colors. We have the logo, which is black, and we have the white, which is something very contrasting, so we can just put the color threshold very high. So again, I'm just clicking it and I click trace shape, and as you guys can see, nothing happened. So oh wait, something happened. Okay, so as you guys can see, the logo got traced already, but why is it so flat? I thought we were going to use it in 3D. Yeah, you're right, but that's because we're not using everything this plugin has to offer yet. So we can right now add geometry to our logo, and it's very easy. You just go to geometry and we extrude it by, let's say 0.1, let's say 0.5, and as you guys can see, it's looking extruded. It's looking like you would want your logo to look like. I'm going to go to solid view. Voila, there we go. However, there is some artifacts on the sides, as you guys can see, that we do not want. So why is this? It's because we gotta play around a bit with our color threshold and with our accuracy. So I'm just going to leave this one. We are going to go to color threshold 0.5, maybe accuracy 5, and we're going to trace shape again. Okay, so this looks pretty clean. I'm going to add my geometry and see if this was better. Voila, this looks like a way cleaner rendition of the logo that I wanted to. I'm just gonna make it a little bit bigger so it has more of the vibe that I'm going for. Voila, we have a very clean rendition of the MTV logo, which cost me, it cost me 3 clicks because I had to redo it, but it was very easy to really get this logo off the ground, and I did not have to model anything. I did not even have to lift a finger. So what can we do now? We can just delete the original picture and we can just use the logo in any way we want. I'm just going to add another light again. I'm just going to put the light on top of our logo. The only thing we gotta do now is we add, for example, a glass material. Let's give it a glass material with some color so we see a bit better, and I'm just going to put my light a little bit stronger. As you guys can see, our logo works perfectly. It matches the logo we were looking for 100%, and we can just use it in our renders the way we want to use it in our renders. So it's a really cool add-on. It's gonna save you a lot of time if you're doing a lot of logos, for example. You can really easily make a logo animation with these things. I'm just gonna, for example, make it spin. Okay, nice. I'm just gonna make it pop in like this, and you really can do your magic with this plugin, and it's really easy to get it going. Okay, so this is a pretty neat one. I'm going to go to the next one, which is in okay, so this is an amazing one. If you're going for animations, I'm just going to add a little bit more light. You know what? I'm gonna add a HDR, so it will be a nicer view. It's a terrible one. I'm just gonna take another one. Let's just give him a second. Okay, it will do for now. Okay, so when we're doing a scene, when we're doing an animation, and for example, you got your beast who is just chilling here. Let's say we just added a grass here, and he's just chilling on a meadow. I'm just going to add a little bit of grass to it with the geo scatter add-on, which is a really cool as well. Where is it? I have way too much add-ons. Okay, I'm just looking for it if I'm finding it. Yeah, okay, geoscatter add-on. So I'm just going to add grass on this one. I click it, object playing. I just choose a biome scatter, and here I can choose from all the different biomes. And for now, I'm going to choose a wild grass biome. One thing we gotta do is click it, and it's going to make this plane a field of grass for me without me having to lift a finger, and it looks amazingly good. The only thing why it's not looking good right now is because our lightning is terrible. But if we search for example, a better HDRI, I'm just going to put one in here. This one, for example, I think is a good one. Everything looks pretty realistic. I almost swear, but I'm not going to swear. This one looks very realistic. So as you guys can see, one-click biomes, hip hip hooray. However, this one costs something, and I went through it in the previous part, so go check out part 1 if you're interested in this one. Okay, so right now what's gonna happen if we're gonna make an animation of our beast? He's sitting here and he's being all chill, and he's just thinking about life and how he's done things in his life, and you're just making an animation, and there's some birds flying, but our tree is not moving. There's no wind, everything just looks very static. That's not something we can work with in our animations, because it's going to make our animations look... the worst part of our 3D animations is having everything look static, like movements aren't natural, aren't flowing, aren't elastic. They are just static movements from one side to another. You really need to make sure everything flows when you're doing an animation. And if we would, for example, just make our tree move a little bit like this, yeah, it's gonna just look weird. It's not gonna look like wind. However, there are some guys who made a really cool plugin which makes it really easy to add a wind effect to anything that is into your scene. So Wind FX, I'm going to search for it right now. Wind FX Blender. I'm not sure it was this one. Let me just have another look. Okay, yeah, it was definitely this one. Wind FX Blender add-on. As you guys can see, it's a add-on that adds wind to your scene, but it does not really add wind to your scene. What it does is it takes your object and it adds a noise emitter to it. So basically it makes your object transform as if there was wind inside of your scene, but there's no actual wind inside your scene. I'm just going to show you guys an example. For example, add wind to selected, and we're just going to wait for a second, and there we go. There's a lot of heavy wind right now. I'm going to get you guys a solid mode because this will be too hard on my computer. And as you guys can see, there's a lot of hard wind right now on our tree. Again, if we want less wind, we're just going to make sure our scale is a little bit lower. the wind will not be as tough on your trees or on your clothes, but this thing, and it cost us again, it just cost us one click. This thing is really going to add the kind of life into your animations that you see in the big game studios that you see. When you're looking at a 3D animation from a pro, from someone who actually has been doing this for a couple of years, there's something that you just can't put your finger on, and it's some kind of magic, it's some kind of synergy between all the elements that are inside of the scene, and they're all in touch with each other, and they are moving a little bit, they are moving. This one has the right proportions in order to that one, so these little things really make what is holding back 90% of 3D animators. It's these little things that literally just took me one click right now, and they really make everything, yeah, 10 times better, even 20 times better. So WinFX, it's a really cool one. Okay, I think I have said enough about WinFX. I think you guys are all sold about WinFX. If you're looking for something to get life into your animations, if you do only static renders, it will help you as well, but mostly for animations, this is going to be a game changer. Alrighty, let's go to the next one, and this one kinda will be something that will how do I say it? This one is going to be against what I do, because I try to teach people how to use Blender, and right now I'm going to give you guys an internal Blender teacher that you can ask everything that you're looking for, that you can ask anything. How do I make smoke? He will tell you how to make smoke. What do you think of my render? He will tell you add more light to the right of the object and your render will be better. I'm scared to show you guys this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. This is Blend AI. Blend AI. There we go, Blend AI. There's just a new update of the plugin. It works really well. As you guys can see, you can download a free version. You get 200 credits. If you want to use more of it, so you have all kinds of things you can do, we're going to go over it right now in a second. But if you're going to use it a lot, you might think about purchasing a plan with more credits. As you guys can see here, 4,000 credits is $5, and it's enough for several months. It's $5 if you really want to use this add-on. I would think about getting it. If you think I will just use ChatGPT, I would not get him. I would maybe download it just to try it out, because it is quite a cool experience to have a personal Blender assistant while you are working. For example, how do I make smoke? I just want to add some smoke to my scene. I just added a cube. I added a really cool cylinder, and I think, whoa, this cube and cylinder could really benefit from a cool smoke effect. So how do I add smoke? I never made smoke, so I don't know how to make smoke. I'm just going to ask my friendo. Blend AI. To create smoke in Blender, you can use a fluid simulation system. Okay, add a domain, set domain as fluid, add a smoke emitter, blah 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 blah. And he says, how do I need to create smoke? He tells me how, and it's amazing. How do I cut a hole in my square, for example? And I'm just going to ask him this question. How do I cut a hole in my square? To cut a hole in your square or any mesh, edit mode, blah blah blah. And he tells you the whole thing, how you can make a hole in your square, how you can make smoke. He will tell you anything you need to know. And it's not the only thing it does for you. Actually, it does a whole lot of things. Let's see. So first of all, we have the personal assistant, which I just showed you. You can just ask it questions. You can ask him questions anywhere, and he will answer you. Ka told me that she was having troubles with her render times. This could be a solution for it, because right now what he does is he renders a small frame of your render and then he upscales it with AI, which is an amazing, you guys see he's doing it right now, which is an amazing sped up version of a regular render. However, I cannot say your quality will be the same because it's still an AI upscale of a smaller render. However, if you see here, the quality looks pretty good, and it will save you a whole lot of time instead of doing an actual 4K render. Definitely worth a try, worth a shot if you want to save some time and your CPU can handle the load that you're doing. Feature explain. So if you're doing something and you don't really know, for example, I don't know what this instance does, or I don't know what dynamic paint does, you can just ask him, okay, what does this do? For example, I want to make sure my object is smoother, and you think, okay, subdivision, is this the tool that I need to use to make sure my object is smoother? Well, you can just ask him, explain to me what does this do, and then you can tell for yourself, okay, this is what I need. Okay, task automation. For example, if you want to make a lightning setup that's always the same when you're opening your project, because you're doing product rendering and you have a backdrop, you want something that's always the same, you're tired of setting it up manually once you open your project, well, you can just tell him to write the script for you, so that when you click the button, it will open up these three light points on the same point, and you don't have to manually adjust each light separately. So he will write your scripts. There is a texture generation, so you can just tell him, I want a, for example, vibrant space with stars, and he will create this texture for you. Again, this is a image texture, so these are not procedural textures, so be careful which models you are using them on, because it will not work for all models. But if you're good enough with UV mapping, you can make it work. You can make it work, and it's definitely worth mentioning that how amazing it is that we can create seamless textures using AI of anything we want right now inside of Blender. So that's just crazy. Reference images, so this kind of works like Midjourney. However, this is inside of your Blender, and it's mostly helpful in situations where you want to create a character and you're looking for a reference point. You can just make it inside of this, and you can just add it into your scene and just use the character as a reference. Or if you want to create a dystopian view, a dystopian environment, you just ask it, hey, create me a dystopian environment, Dune 2 for example, and make something that looks like it, and then you have your reference image right inside of your Blender, which is a pretty cool thing to do. I think you can still use Midjourney for this a pretty easy way, but if you want to do it inside of Blender, this is an option you got. You got also image in painting, which is something you could do inside of Blender, but you can do it also with Midjourney. However, you can also in paint on your textures that you made. So this is a pretty cool thing. He just made the texture, and now I say, for example, like you see, I want a huge nebula in space because I didn't like it was too starry. or you make a wood pattern and you say, hey, I want it to be more spliced here, or I want it to be darker on this particular spot. You can just inpaint it and you will make it happen. So that's something I really think could be very helpful, and maybe the most helpful thing if you are a chaotic brain and a chaotic worker like I am, you can make him automatically organize everything inside of your scene. So you just made a scene and everything is still a big mess. Like you see, we have owl, we have glasses, we have pillows, we have our lights, we have our camera, and everything is through each other in the same collection. So this is something I see myself doing a lot actually, because you're just working and you want to make sure the idea that's in your head gets into your environment as quick as possible. So afterwards, if you have to select everything and see, oh, this is from this part, it's gonna take a while. So right now you can just click the button, click organize, and you will automatically see what everything is, and you will automatically say, oh, this is from the pillows, this is from the buttons, this is from the scarves. Actually, you got your camera and your lights here, so I'm going to put them together. These are all your furniture items, so it organizes automatically for you, which is, I think, if you're working on big projects with a lot of things happening at the same time, this might be something that's really going to be helpful for us. Okay, render suggestions. This is my render. I just did it and I'm telling him, hey, improve my render because I don't like the way it looks. There's something missing. There's something, it doesn't catch the eye, it's bland. There's not enough depth, and I don't know how to make sure it has all these things so it looks like a professional one. So we're just following what the AI just said, because he told me, hey, you need more lightnings, you need more shadows, you need more and as you guys can see from, okay, I'm just gonna go back a little bit. As you guys can see, it just says, yeah, okay, it looks clean. However, you can increase the contrast, you can make lighting more interesting by using dynamic lighting, light shining through leaves, etc, etc. So once we do all these changes, and it's something that, like, when you're working, you wouldn't think of some things because you're just stuck inside of your loop, inside of your creativity for the moment, and you think, yeah, this is it. But once you see, this is not a bad render, but once you see the difference with the other one, it's some things that you might have done from the beginning, but you didn't think of it because you were focused so hard on getting on the paper what's inside of your head. So if you have a third party that's looking at your render and he's able to tell you, hey, I will do this because I think you're missing a few key elements that make your work stand out from the professionals. I think this is a really good way of using a Blender AI system. And as you guys can see, there are a lot of things you can do with it, but don't use everything at the same time. Learn. For example, if you want to try the Wind FX add-on, try the Wind FX add-on first, learn how to work with that one, and then go over to the next one. If you're going to download all 5 of them tonight and you're going to install them, it's going to be really hard to get a grip on them because there's so much information coming out to you. Just start with one, and if I would start with one, I might maybe start with the Blend AI because it's going to just tell you how you can improve yourself. With the one-click damage, you really gotta have the ideas and have the knowledge and have the skills to make amazing things, but this thing is really going to tell you, hey, this is what you need to do to be a better 3D artist, and this is what you need to do to make sure that everything looks better than it does right now. So I think this one might be the most helpful one if you're looking to improve yourself, because you've got a teacher right inside of your Blender, which is an amazing feature, and I think it's really helpful, and I think we're going to go a lot further with AI processes and with AI things inside of Blender, but this is kind of the first one that I saw that's really something that could help us, and that's really something that make us better art and not just make art for us. It will help us be better. And that's something I'm really looking forward to in a change in AI and in 3D. And I think that's a good note to stop on, to sign off on, because I think that's something we all need. Not being replaced, but just being helped, becoming better artists. So, any questions for tonight, guys?
Thank you. Okay, so there's no question so far, so if anyone have any question, now's the time.
I think when there are no questions, I think everything was super clear and I've just done a great job. Right, Ka?
All right, so let's wrap it up.
You know it, Ka. Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Very much, guys.
And that's a wrap. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content. See you in our next maker session.